Assalamu alaikum badi mulum ngamobe kontong watonal kontong wala anal badi maran Suleiman Cham kunku janketa UDP politika biro wolu ngana update men nati alena UDP chumpi kunku ja UDP politika biro YouTube channel nsilamme Lamin Dr. Lamin Manneh ala update ngana sodale nsilamme Dr. Lamin Manneh. Assalamu alaikum.
Talk about government's plans on how to make and spend money, hopefully, in activities and projects to serve the people in 2025. Yes, it's that time again when the budget takes up a huge chunk of the public's attention. And why not? With the talk of hundreds of millions in one sector or another, tax rates or duty on certain goods being increased or decreased, and policy analysis that can get quite complicated, the budget is a crucial element of what the government does that the general public is often not completely in tune with. Even though the media tries to keep the masses informed, many struggle to understand why the budget is important to each and every individual on a personal level and why they should care. Well, Lamin Manneh, now retired, after years of stellar service at the African Development Bank, knows a thing or two about budgeting, and as a senior member of the opposition United Democratic Party, he is the UDP's Assistant Senior Secretary for External and Diaspora Affairs. He never wastes an opportunity to attack the government's economic policy. Very nice gentleman, I will admit. I like him, like so many things about him, except his choices of high school and English football club. The former I can't do anything about. He's been through already. But I'm trying to change him from supporting Manchester United to Liverpool. Welcome back, my friend.
Thank you, my friend. That's not going to happen. I'm hoping of bringing you to Man U. But anyway, we'll continue debating that.
They've pointed out a marabout to me who I am told is capable of changing you. I'm yet to get to him.
Good luck.
I'm yet to get to him, but I will. Welcome back.
Thank you, Peter.
So the budget is before us.
Yes.
A new constitution is before us.
Right.
The president is on tour. It's all about money, isn't it?
Unfortunately, yeah. Peter, thank you so much for having me again. And it's always a pleasure coming back here. And now congratulations for moving on to YouTube as well. So not only hear us, but see us as well.
Thank you.
And I think this is the way to go. Right, that said, coming to the budget.
It's a huge budget.
It's a huge budget.
53 billion.
Yes, virtually. 52.9, that's $53 billion.
Yes. I mean, in the media, we like to round up things.
I think it's better. Yeah, no, it's better to do it that way because it catches. Otherwise, people hear 52, they wouldn't hear the 900 million on top of the 52.
Exactly. And 900 million is a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. Peter, this is the budget which started in the wrong way for the beginning. The minister came to Parliament for 15 days late with the budget.
He had an explanation for it, though.
A very lousy one, for that matter.
Well, civil servants needed a pay rise.
Yes, but he had 1 year to do that. Why does he have to wait 15 days after the deadline to come to Parliament? Because he said the donors were dictating to him what to do, which is an indictment on their performance. But he gets there 15 days late, violating the Constitution. And a nominated member who was not even elected took it upon himself to further violate the Constitution by telling NAMS that, yes, this guy has violated the Constitution, but I absolve him and he can just present an apology and we move along.
And who's this nominated member?
Fabakary Tombong-Jatta, the Speaker.
Oh.
He was not even an elected member. This is the guy who's been given so much power that he can throw out of Parliament people who have been elected by the masses if he thinks they are out of order.
That's not his fault. That's not his fault. It's the fault of whoever
appointed him, put him in that place. Of we the Gambians who put in place the person who put him there. But come back to the budget. We have a $53 billion budget for 2025. At a time when this government is bankrupt and they know it. And where they depend on foreign external aid to be able to keep this country afloat. Every single month, this government goes to the central bank with treasury bills and government bonds, which they raise to be able to pay salaries, and they know that. But they still continue expanding the expenditure of this country. This is the country, Peter, in this budget, they have, for next year, After buying this year $1 billion, $1,087 million worth of SUVs for the Islamic conference. $1 billion.
Expensive cars.
Yes, $12.5 million cars. 12.25, sorry. They bought 87 of those for $1,080 million this year, which they, for the 2-day conference. After that, they distributed amongst themselves. Now for next year, this is the same government that is asking for $800 million to buy new SUVs, $335 million for fuel, 100 and something million for maintenance.
Maybe we are about to host the UN General Assembly.
Yeah, or probably. But look, which will never happen, of course, and there's no other major conference coming to this country with Barrow in place. But Peter, take that together. The purchase of new SUVs, after spending $1 billion, this I repeat, next year they want to spend a total of $1.2 billion on purchasing, fueling, and maintaining new SUVs. $1.2 billion. When the Minister of Agriculture of this country has only $945 million. So those new cars are much more important than Ministry of Agriculture. They are given 25% more money than they have given to the Ministry of Agriculture for the whole country. This is the government that has tabled this budget, which gives $74 million to NHRC, National Human Rights Commission, with their poor track record. When they give more to the National Human Rights Commission, more than the Ministry of Fisheries, more than the Ministry of Information, which is not a bad thing, and more than to the Ministry of Tourism.
But the Ministry of Fisheries is supposed to be making money, not using up money.
It's supposed to be making money, but this is supposed to be seed money for you to make more money.
Okay.
Because our seas are being exploited to the maximum by foreign vessels. If you are going to be serious, you're going to get some fast boats to monitor our seas. Or you're going to get some surveillance equipment to go with it to monitor our seas. What are you doing? And you're going to invest in the fisheries sector to help our youth who want to go into fishing to be able to become self-sufficient and self-reliant. But instead of doing that, you give them less for the whole ministry, less than what you give to the Human Rights Commission. Doing what? More than you give to tourism ministry, which is supposed to attract tourists into this country and make us earn more money from tourism. We were doing that. Today we're losing everything to Senegal. Our tourists come here, spend a few days, and they go to Fatala. We can't develop
which is in Senegal.
Yes. We can't develop the same kind of parks in the country here, in the Fonyis, in Combo here, in all over the country, Kiang, anywhere, just name it. Why can't we do that? Why can't we invest in tourism? Why can't we invest money in ecotourism? They tried that and they squandered all the money with nothing to show for it. But this is this government, the misplaced priorities of this government. And this is the government which this year gives $1,084 million to the President's office. $1 billion to the President's office, much more than the Ministry of Agriculture. So the whole of the country's agriculture sector receives less than what you give to the President and his small office.
Small? That office is not small.
It's small in terms of in comparison to Ministry of Agriculture.
It even has a minister now.
Yes.
Overseeing its affairs.
Unfortunately, again.
How do you mean unfortunately?
We should be reducing those ministers, not creating more. What added value is that going to be? Turning the former chief of staff into a minister and giving him more powers over the other ministers. What added value is that going to be for that? Nothing. Nothing except...
So that he can ensure that they all, keep to the president's agenda and that they implement it to the fullest. Yeah,
put president's agenda forward to turn him into an imperial presidency. That's what we're having here. If they do that, if they do what... These people are not working for this country, Peter. These people are working for themselves to enrich themselves more and more. That's what we have in this country. Peter, another sector, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, $2.4 billion to Ministry of Foreign Affairs. To do what? Embarrass us?
To fund the embassies around the world.
Precisely. Do we need those embassies? No, we don't. We just need to scale back on the number of embassies we have. We have open embassies in places we cannot even afford, Japan and the like. Why do we need embassies in those places?
Well, Japan may not be bad because we've had this JICA thing for years now.
JICA was working without that embassy, and JICA will continue to work without an embassy. JICA is a multilateral institution, and we have been part of it before and will continue to be part of it after. We do not need those embassies because it's just spending more and more money in maintaining political cronies who have failed in this country, and you just recycle them to the embassies. People who have stolen in ministries and the like, and you just recycle them to those embassies. Why? Those people should be under investigation, not being redeployed to those embassies. And they go there with no qualifications, with no clear-cut terms of reference. This should be economic diplomacy we should be having now, not this political diplomacy of putting your cronies out there who have failed abysmally in this country. You put them there to just hire them for a while. Why do we need that? Ministry of Foreign Affairs has no business being given $2.4 billion when the Ministry of Agriculture gets less than $1 billion. Why do you give Ministry of Finance $2.5 billion virtually, $2.490 billion?
Well, they control the purse.
Precisely.
When they apportion, why would they give more to others than themselves?
Why should they be giving that to themselves? They should be taking care of the country's needs, not themselves. And what do we get? We get the minister traveling all the time with all of his top guys, and we don't have a budget on time. What added value are they bringing to this country? Nothing. Nothing. So why do we need to give? We're giving the money to the sectors where we have the most wastage, where we have the most traveling and unproductive senior staff. The lower level and middle level staff are doing a fantastic job. I always have to say that. They are doing fantastic. They are being let down by their management and their ministers. This is where we need to have a change. Instead of taking all that money and spending it on travel and all that, give it to those staff in the ministry, train them even more, redeploy some of them, and move the money to other sectors. We don't need to give $2.5 million to the Ministry of Finance. We don't need to give $2.4 billion to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. We don't need to, right? The Ministry of Defense this year has less money than the President's office. I would say cut both of them. We are wasting money on defense and the President's office.
Why waste money on defense?
Who are you going to war with in the Gambia?
Senegal.
Precisely. If we go to Senegal, we go to Senegal,
we take them on.
We don't need. You see, Senegal is already providing.
They're the only neighbor with whom we have a border.
Exactly.
We share a border.
Exactly. So you develop good relations with that neighbor. You don't need to go to war with them. Senegal and the Gambia, we are so intertwined. A war between Senegal and the Gambia is unimaginable, right?
Yeah.
Senegalese flee to the Gambia when something goes wrong, and Gambians to the Senegal when something goes wrong. You those two going to war?
And it's good to hear that, they've started joint patrols of,
right.
Yeah, insecure joint border territories.
And I hope that continues and be much more rationalized. So we do not need that money in the army. We need to continue having good relations with Senegal, and we are fine. We provide an external border for us. So we don't need to spend that money. Peter, Tunisia, Bourguiba in the 70s and 80s, and we were telling him all his neighbors were spending billions of dollars on arms, and he was not doing. The people say, "Are you crazy?" They would just pounce on you, and they say, "Tunisia has no enemies." He was spending 54% of the national budget on education, health, and agriculture.
You haven't spoken about the allocation to education.
Education, let's talk about that. What Bourguiba did, the health sector is among the best in Africa. They have health tourism from Europe. The education sector, they have the best schools and doctors, and they were exporting doctors to South Africa when they became independent. Oh, wow. Agriculture, they moved from a arid desert country to a self-sufficient country and food sovereignty in Tunisia. Ministry of Education, over $5 billion is to basic and secondary education. I applaud that. What I do not applaud is, why do we give $5 billion plus to the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education and our kids are failing so abysmally? Why? Why is it that the public schools are failing when the private schools, with much less money, are making the best results in the country?
Maybe this signals a positive change. They will ensure that the public schools are just as good as
that should be the case, but
because
no
when
indication.
You and I went to school,
exactly,
the public schools,
were the best.
Exactly.
Gambia High School was the top of the ladder.
Excuse me.
And saints beneath it. Well, that's what we had in this country.
We never had that.
I couldn't miss that. But Peter, when we went to school, the public schools were the best. And we had very few private schools. We are all here today thanks to those public schools. Why can't we do the same for our kids to give them a fighting chance? Because today, the schools that are in this country are suffering, the public schools. Our kids, the bulk of them, the vast majority of them go to those schools and they come out with very little chance. When the kids of the wealthy who go to the private schools will come out and run the country again. So the generational succession is going to be there, the social protection, and we're doing everything the wrong way. Those kids need a fighting chance. Those who are able to pay for private schools for their kids, thank God for them. And we want everybody at one point or another to be able to do that. We don't want to bring those people down. We want to take the other people up so that the kids coming from the private schools do not have too much of an advantage over the kids from public schools. They should be able to do what they need to do as well. They should be able to be performing in any sector where they go to. That's what we need to do. But you get that money into the public sector schools and you're underperforming so badly. And then Ministry of Higher Education, you give them just under $300 million. This is where we polish our students to have the best of them. We prepare them in primary and secondary education until they get to the tertiary level.
I think the assumption there is higher education already gets enough funding from the Turks, the Germans, the Chinese. Likewise, agriculture gets a lot of funding from the World Food Program, among other multilateral agencies.
But that is the wrong way to go, because we are supposed to put our money where our mouth is. Our resources should be channeled to those sectors which we consider as priorities. A budget is just a reflection of the priorities of a government.
True.
If these are priorities for us, we put our money there. If additional money comes in, thank God. But we cannot just be doing that and hoping that money will come, which never comes most of the time. This year, we see what they had budgeted in the budget, in 2023 budget, what they had put in there, and what actually came is totally different.
2024 budget, you mean?
No, 2023, because the 2024 is still ongoing.
Okay.
But the 2024-23 budget, what they had projected for the agriculture sector, for the health sector, for all of those sectors where they're expecting money from projects, from programs and budget aid, budget support, etc., didn't materialize in most cases. Or if they did, it was never declared. And you know that there's a lot of misdeclaration in this country.
Transparency issues.
Transparency issues, precisely. So there are a lot of spending that is happening which is not reported. And we will end up with a huge debt. Come 2026, when there's a change, we'll see that amount of debt surfacing because they have hidden it.
Like we have in Senegal.
Like we have in Senegal. This year, they have discovered 6 trillion CFA. That's 6 million CFA they have discovered in debt that was hidden from the state and from the Senegalese.
They're from the public.
Exactly. So we're going to have the same thing here come 2026 because a lot of the debt is hidden. I look at the Ministry of Transport, Works and Communication. Their budget is just over $2 billion.
Well, the government has made it clear that infrastructure is going to continue to be his focus because everywhere he goes, people want roads. Because
that's the place where you have the most amount of wastage, overbilling, overpricing, and underperformance. That's where you have it. And see, that budget is coming from the national budget, from the GLF fund. That's where it's coming from. And in addition to that, what they are not telling us is that they have floated over $1 billion in bonds for National Road Authority. And that is also going to the road construction business. Why was that not declared? Why is that not coming out? So you have all this amount of misreporting that is happening. It even got them into trouble in the last negotiations with the IMF institutions, which is the Bretton Woods institutions, There is a huge amount of misreporting happening in this country, and that's going to come back to bite us. But again, if we look at the budget, this is a country that, under these difficult circumstances, where they could not raise the salaries by 70% as they intended at the beginning. And I've been saying that from some time.
Well, somehow they have. Grades 1 to 3 will get a 70% raise.
See, that's why the opposition is good. Because we've been harping on it for a long time, and now they've changed their mind. It was 30% across the board. That's what they were going to do. And we said, no, you cannot do that. Because you're giving too much undue advantage to the people at the top.
So how will they balance the figures? Because if if the estimates presented said 30% across the board,
yes,
and now they're only saying actually 70% for grades 1 to 3, how are they going to
That is where the position is good, because we have criticized them so much.
Because the information minister sat where you sat and declared this, the first balanced budget in this country for decades.
That's utter rubbish. That's utter rubbish. A balanced budget means you have enough internal resources raised to cover your needs. Over 25% of the revenue expected in this budget is coming from external sources, according to them. And if that is the case, that's where Parliament should hold them to account. They should tell them, if you have that amount of money coming in, show us proof. Because if you have money...
And proof would come in the form of what? Because it could only be commitments.
Yes, but...
I mean, you just don't run to the UN and say, well, we need 10 million, and they give you 10 million.
You see, if you're going to have money coming into the Gambia from the African Development Bank, from the World Bank, from the European Union, if you having come 25, by now you have signed all the agreements. And all that you need to do is to fulfill the conditions precedent, the conditions which will determine whether they are disbursed or not. But the agreements would have been signed by now. Anything that's not signed by now is not coming in 25. Because these institutions have procedures. They go to their boards, they do have a lot of preparations before they approve any of those things. Anything that's not approved by end of the third quarter is not going to come in 25. So if any money is coming, they should already have evidence of those amounts being agreed upon with these institutions, bilateral, multilateral development finance institutions. They should have proof of that. If they don't have that, it's just a prayer. They're just hoping that it's going to come, and most of the time it doesn't come because the country is in a difficult situation.
Yeah. Before you, the clerk of the National Youth Parliament sat here, and I suppose you heard quite, a sizable part of his interview. But he was worried about the allocation to the Ministry of Youth and Sport.
Yeah.
And we all talk about, the youths being, the future leaders and all of that. But at the same time, we have youths, in a continuous, mass exodus from the country. And we have this popular slogan, the youths are happy.
Yeah, another spinning
I like
effort.
to flag this slogan up every time
another spinning effort, but Gambians are too smart to fall for that.
What does it say about, the priority given to the youths by the government?
No, the lack of priority, actually. Because, you see, we should begin to think outside the box. Putting youth and sports together is something we should now rethink. Peter, instead of giving...
In Senegal, they've gotten rid of the sports ministry.
Yeah. And for good reason. The youth should be one of the key budget components in any developing country. And any country for that matter, actually. If you take 1 billion out of the 2.4 being given to foreign affairs, and you take another billion out of the 2.5 being given to finance, you have 2 billion already. You put that together with this paltry amount they gave to Ministry of Youth and Sport, and you create a Ministry of Youth Development.
Yeah, but they accuse the Ministry of Youth and Sports, using the entire budget on
football stadia and the rest.
In recurrent spending.
That's why I say you
and
think
things that don't bear fruit. They go to Cameroon, they waste money there, they come back, we say, give us a report. There's still no report.
No report.
They go to Ivory Coast, it's the same thing. That's right across this government.
That's right across this government. There is no ministry in this country that comes back, where staff come back from mission and they write a back to office report. It doesn't exist. So what do you know what you've been to do there?
Yeah, but who's at fault? Is it not the National Assembly? Because
Assembly,
ultimately it is the National Assembly that okays what government gets or doesn't get.
But the National Assembly also is a group of hustlers in this country.
Oh dear.
Let's call a spade a spade. You see, we don't have to massage the truth. We have to say the things the way they are. The National Assembly is just doing the president's bidding because they control it. The opposition MPs come in every now and then to try to change. It doesn't happen. So they are just doing the president's bidding. Peter, if any ministry in this country sends staff out on a mission, when they come back, they should submit a back to office report. The minister, the permanent secretary, and the director should see to that. The minister himself should submit his own. And the National Assembly and Cabinet should ensure that those things happen. They don't happen.
Well, one or two of these ministers have been in international multilateral organizations, and they know that whenever they've been out on missions, they wouldn't resume their normal work without giving, a report on...
At the ADB, if I go on mission, I come back, I don't submit a back to office report. The amount of the money given to me on mission is deducted from my salary.
I could give you my own example. An experience when I went to Deutsche Welle, the German equivalent of the BBC.
Good.
Coming from the Gambia, whenever you're given, whether you call it impressed or per diem, you kept every butut.
Exactly.
Whether you spent a butut or not,
right.
That was money given to you.
You spend it the way
So
you
I
like.
go on a mission, starved myself because I wanted to keep as much money as possible to come and build myself a house and, save enough money to educate my children. After 2 days, I was called in by the boss to say, what's happening? Give us a report. Where's the money you were given? How did you spend it?
Right.
And I thought, wow.
Exactly.
This is the way things happen in the real world.
Yeah, a mindset change we need here. Actually, if I go on a mission for the ADB, I come back, if I don't submit a back to office report, the amount of the money given for the mission is deducted from my salary. And when I go on mission, our per diem is divided into two, the subsistence component and the hotel component. The hotel component is a real cost. If they give me $200 per night for the hotel, if I spend $199, I pay back the $1. The subsistence is my way. If I don't want to eat, that's my problem. But the hotel component is exact amount you spend. We don't have any of those things here. We don't have any back office, so we don't have any follow-up. If you go on a mission, you need to know why you were there, what you did, what are the subsequent benefits coming to the country, so we can work on them and have a follow-up. We do not have it. So all of these things should be checked by different ministries and the cabinet and parliament, etc. It's not happening.
Do you think parliament is equipped to be able to look at the estimates of whether it's this finance minister or a future finance minister and realize that, they're giving the president's office so much, and say, no, they don't need that. What they need is this, this, and that, and cut. Because FPAC is patting itself on the back for cutting
400 plus million.
Yeah, not even half of the 900 million on top of the 52 billion.
Yes. And that's the thing.
That sounds, 400 and some, it sounds like,
out of 53
sounds
billion?
like a feed, like a huge
Chicken
sum,
feed.
but from what it was cut.
Out of 53 billion?
Yeah.
Out of 53 billion, you cut 400 million? What do you do with that? You see,
so is it capacity? If you had people like Lamin Manneh looking at that budget, what they would cut would be more. Of course, you're already talking of cutting at least $1 billion from finance, from foreign affairs.
Exactly. We need to do that. And you see, that's why it's important for them to submit the estimates to Parliament in time. And if Parliament at that point wants to do the real work they're supposed to do, they will get in the subject matter specialists, sit with them, look at them from the different caucuses before they come to us a National Assembly to look at it. Because the National Assembly does organize those kind of meetings with subject matter specialists.
They do?
They do.
Oh, okay.
They do.
Because I only hear
probably not as much as they should.
I only hear trainings organized by some UN organization or some British, NGO working here, of parliamentarians and media, and I'm asking myself, can you train these people, over 2-3 days, really?
That's the point. Because let's be frank. A number of people in Parliament lack the capacity.
Yeah, capacity is a problem.
To be able to assess those
budgets. They may
budgets
be paying themselves those huge salaries, but the capacity is lacking.
Not there. So they're going to develop that capacity over a week's training, over a week explaining those issues, because some of these are very intricate issues that you need to deal with much more thoroughly. So the budget should come to Parliament way ahead of time, so that the different caucuses would sit within themselves and with their friends and look at these budgets critically and dissect it. And then they go to the National Assembly organized meetings and they look at these things. That way you have a chance of something slightly better. And the training of the NAMs should be something continuous over the entire legislature.
Well, they allocate themselves hundreds of millions, so they should prioritize education.
Yes, they should prioritize. But this education, we need to spend much less in a much more structured environment. The NAMs sit how many months in the year? The rest of the time, what are they doing? Organize some.
And they get paid for every sitting.
Yes. $25,000 is for every sitting.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean,
you pay me because I go to the ADB to work, or because I go to UDP to work. You pay me just by showing up. I'm already paid to go and work there.
Very lucky. I'll stand for election in Serekunda. I want to become in now.
You should. Everybody in this country should be engaged.
Yeah.
We cannot leave this politics to a few people. To a Lamin Manneh, to a Peter Gomez, who's...
My boss has just signaled that I'm seriously overrunning.
Oh, okay.
We can't finish without talking about the draft constitution.
Yeah, the draft constitution. This is something that is totally, totally unacceptable. We have a very good 2020 draft that can be amended slightly if necessary in Parliament. This was the fruit of very inclusive and extensive consultations within and without the country. And just because of that two-term limit animal in there, you kill that constitution. And we bring in a draft that is going to put in place an imperial presidency. We do not need that. And we will not stand for it. We're going to fight against that. We have been invited by the National Human Rights Commission that I was just talking about just now.
We being who?
The political parties.
Okay.
And the diplomatic community and several institutions. We have been invited to a convergence that they're organizing at Kairaba Conference Center from starting today.
So you'll be going there from here?
I will be going there.
Okay.
But
I should follow you there just to listen to what is being discussed.
Yes, you should. You see, and we got that invitation. Yesterday, a gentleman called me from the NHRC to say, "Are you guys coming?" I said, "Coming to what?" He said, to the convergence. I said, "What is this all about?" He said, "They sent us an invitation, and nobody took anything to Mr. Dabo's office.
Oh.
Nobody called me, nobody called any official in the party to say, we're inviting you until yesterday." So I had to run to Mr. Dabo and tell him about it.
And he was only hearing about it?
Yesterday.
From you?
Yeah.
Oh dear, oh dear.
And
I got my invitation days ago.
Okay. And then we tried to find out, and then apparently they had submitted it a few days ago at our Manjai Bureau.
Isn't that your headquarters?
No, the office is Mr. Dabo's office.
Okay.
Somebody submitted to Manjai Bureau. Just 3 sheets of paper, no envelope, nothing, and they just highlighted UDP somewhere on the 3rd page.
You think that's disrespect?
It is disrespectful. How do they know that they're supposed to submit that? So somebody just submitted there, and we found it. You see, these are the sort of things you should do well in advance. Talk to people, get them ready, and we move on that. But that did not happen. But Mr. Dabo, being the gentleman he is, said, "It's very late, it's unfortunate, it didn't happen this way, but let's still honor it."
Well, he won't be there because he's supposed to be starting a tour today.
No, he's not. And that's not happening either.
Why is this not happening? I mean, it was announced.
It was announced, and we're all ready, and we set up everything and incurred a lot of expenditure. Just at the last minute, 48 hours before the tour was supposed to start today, 2 days ago, the IG's office sent to us a letter, a reply to our request for permit, saying that they are appealing to us to defer it because the president is on a tour, and that is constitutional mandated. Because of that, they are overstretched, and they cannot provide security while we go on tour. So the
president has been on tour for more than 10 days now.
Yes, and he's coming back today anyway, or yesterday it was, whatever. And we are starting North Bank when he's going to be in West Coast region.
Okay.
What is the point? And more importantly, we have had election campaigns here where we had over 10 political parties campaigning, crisscrossing the country. And they provide security for all of those people. Why can't they provide security now? The police management has to understand that they are here to be equidistant from all the political parties, and this, for all intents and purposes, was a political tour by Barrow. So they have to be...
No, it was a meet the people tour.
No, they meet the people
to talk to farmers, to hear about their needs for roads.
Go talk to their needs. You don't go campaigning against UDP, Ousainou Darboe, and all of that. Most of the time it was about Ousainou Darboe.
He didn't name him this time.
Oh, come on.
Did he?
He did, and in oblique references and indirect references, he did. and he's been talking about issues that are not to do with the people and their needs, which he knows anyway to start with. This Meet the Farmer store or Meet the People store, whatever it's called, should be scrapped. They will tell you it's a constitutional requirement. The constitution was done by us. If it doesn't fit our needs,
what about the allocation to it in the 2025 estimate?
$50 million is for next year. And that is just the estimate. The actuals are always much higher. When they allocated $30 million this year, wait for the actuals. It will be in the region of $45–50 million. For what? To pay for a disguised campaign for a political party leader. Okay. That's what it is. And these are the things that need to change, Peter. We can't continue doing these things the way business as usual and having this. It's just not acceptable. And the police has to realize that. And this time, when it happened, we were intent on going. But Mr. Dabo, being who he is, we have to continue being the adult in the room here.
Okay.
So for this final time, we will let it go. We are being the reasonable adult in the room, and we have been that for years. Okay. But it's enough is enough. It gets to a point where we're going to say, well, you know what? We have the same rights as Barrow and any other person in this country. And you, the police, are supposed to provide the same services to all of us. And you will, or we will do what we need to do.
And I think my daughter will be saying enough is enough. I mean, we've taken more than 30 minutes of the NATIP time. That was Lamin Manneh, Assistant Senior Secretary, External and Diaspora, United Democratic Party. And that brings